All right, I'm back. Motor City Sports Talk in the building. Appreciate everybody for checking in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell icon button, share the video. And let's talk about why not Cam Newton as the Detroit Lions backup quarterback. Now, I'm not going to talk about my personal feelings for Cam. I used to be a huge fan. I felt that he let Kaepernick down. I'll leave it at that. But I'm going to be totally objective in this video about Cam Newton. And you got to ask why not. And I'll tell you why and why not. And let's start off with why not. I want to end off on a positive note. Why possibly not is if he doesn't want to truly, genuinely accept the backup role. One thing about having a backup quarterback is it's the most popular position in town. You know, once, Stafford or the main quarterback, starting quarterback, start making a few mistakes, they want to call his name. If you notice, the Lions really ain't had a respectable backup quarterback since Shaun Hill. And when Shaun Hill came in Stafford's second year and when he got injured at Soldier Field and Jeff Backus was still in a two-point stance and Stafford was on his way on a little gurney, whatever you call it, and Jeff Backus still was in his 2-point stand. I'll never forget that day. I had the homies over. It was the opening season game at Soldier Field. I felt we was going to beat the Bears, and long story short, Stafford got injured. Shaun Hill came in and balled. He threw the game-winning touchdown to Calvin Johnson, and they said it wasn't a catch. There you have it, the Calvin Johnson rule that ended up tripping up Dez Bryant, and that was great when Dez Bryant didn't get that call. I loved it. Hate the Cowboys, all right? But, after they let Shaun Hill go, they never had a respectable backup quarterback, and a lot of the times the city was saying Shaun Hill was better than Matthew Stafford because he would always chuck the ball up to Calvin Johnson. No matter what, he would abuse Calvin Johnson, and most of the time Calvin Johnson came through. So ever since Shaun Hill was gone, it really ain't been no good backup quarterback, behind Stafford. And I think they didn't want to hear that clamoring and put that pressure on Stafford. You know what they say? If your quarterback can't handle the pressure of a backup quarterback, pressure either makes diamonds or busts pipes. And for Stafford, I believe it would have made a diamond, because he's just as talented as Cam Newton without he way better passer than Cam Newton. Let's not start there. He's by far better passer than Cam. But, Cam just had the mobility. And now I think Cam, more than anything, this is a great position for him. And I'll explain that later. But he got to be willing to take a backseat role and basically use this year as a physical prep year for himself. Now, mentally, and he ain't ready to take up a backup role, and you bring him in, you have that conversation, then you say not. But that's the only reason you wouldn't bring him in if he ain't willing to come in and contribute as a backup first. That's the only reason I could think he can mess it up, because then you also can say, if they put a package in, like the Eagles put one in for Jalen Hurts, and, they put a wildcat package in for a quarterback, if you want to put a package in for him and he's not willing to do that, then I understand it. But that's the only reason I think he wouldn't be good in that position, if he just genuinely didn't want to be a backup quarterback. He genuinely didn't want to contribute and help the team out in any and every way. That's coming out in the wildcat or, running, kind of a Jason Tatum type of, offense they do in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? If he's saying being a backup or being this is beneath me, then that's the only real issue I would have with him coming in being the backup. You know what I'm saying? But at this point, what you got to remember is there's no more guaranteed money on Stafford's contract. And at this point, you also got to remember, if you Martha and you stopping Bob from getting another quarterback, or if you Bob and you don't want to get another quarterback, you don't want to spend that money, what you got to remember is this fan base can't afford to go into regression. All right. If we go from 3-12-1 to 2 or 1 win or 3 or 4 win season again, I still consider that a regression. That's with a healthy Stafford, or if that's not with a healthy Stafford, at the end of the day, you possibly can lose your fans. And I know people say, Lions fans not going nowhere. At some point, every fan base and every person on this planet, every animal on this planet, every living thing on this planet, like it or not, has a breaking point. You know what I'm saying? And no matter how many people love Stafford, at the end of the season, reality would kick in if he wasn't healthy again and he got injured, and he had the same back injury Tony Romo had to retire with. I think people would have to face it. So you got to be like, you know what? We need that insurance policy. You know what I'm saying? But before I segue into the whys, it's not too many other things I could think of why not, other than him mentally wanting to take on this position. because Chase Daniels ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? I think Blog is the perfect 3. You can stash him on the practice squad if you have to, but Chase Daniels can't handle him. And I talked about bringing Kaepernick in, and people didn't like it and said he can't play this, that, and the third. Chase Daniels can't fucking play. Excuse my French. Chase Daniels can't play. He couldn't beat out Mitchell Trubisky. So don't give me that weak old slander. Oh, Kaepernick can't play. He ain't no worse than Chase Daniels. He damn sure ain't no worse than Josh Johnson last year, or David Blog, or Jeff Driscoll. I can give you Driscoll, because Driscoll played well. I debate Driscoll with you. Him being off 3 or 4 years, we could debate Driscoll, but Driscoll in Denver. So if it was a fifth, we all be drunk. So I'm not going to debate that. Chase Daniels ain't a good quarterback. Well, he beat the Lions last year. Well, a lot of quarterbacks beat the Lions last year without Matthew Stafford. Real talk. Dose Dion could have went in there, and Luke could have went in there. Mike could have went in there. I could have went in there. And we could have threw some damn touchdowns and beat the Lions last year how Patricia was playing. Just keep it in 100. Shout out to them brothers. Could have went in there and threw some touchdowns. It looked good. All right? So other than why not, so let me know in the comment section if you got some other reasons why not. If you're talking about his personality, or you talking about him being a diva, that all goes into my one why not. He has to mentally be able to accept the job. Now, let's get into why, okay? Why should you do it? Obviously, Matthew Stafford, you don't know where his health is. Obviously, you don't have a solid backup quarterback. I don't care what you think about Chase Daniels. He ain't solid. He third string at the best. Okay, those are the 2 reasons why. So if Stafford go down, you have an experienced quarterback. Now, is Cam Newton the long-term solution? No. If he do come in for Stafford and save the day, and he take us to the playoff and win the playoff game, then yeah, I would lock him up for 3 years. But I still would be looking to prep a guy, in the draft. I'll be looking for my Jalen Hurts. I'll be looking for, my Jordan Stidham. I'll be looking for my Kirk Cousins, and I'd hate to say that, but a mid or later round quarterback that I can develop down the road, I'll be looking for that. You see the Dallas Cowboys, and they've been doing things smartly since they took the game plan out of Jerry Jones' hands. And they said, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen to Dak Prescott. Let's get Andy Dalton. Let's load up here. Let's get value. Let's get him a incentive-based contract. The Lions have to look at it that way, like, okay, Stafford's had a back injury that could have ended the season 2 years in a row. Let's get Cam Newton in here. In worst case scenario, if Cam come in and ball and we want to continue with Stafford, or, whatever situation is, we want to draft the guy, at least we could flip Cam Newton for compensation. You know what I'm saying? But why, other than backing up Stafford and Chase Daniels, you know what I'm saying? Cam can also, if Matthew Stafford, all this is predicated on Stafford health. If Stafford was healthy last year and he would have continued on this MVP race, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would still be saying they should get somebody to develop, maybe like a Jacob Eason. I would like to see them drafting him, or Jalen Hurts, and prepped him behind Stafford, because he is going on year number 12. And in football, you can fall out your prime in one training camp practice, in one practice, or one game. So you still kind of need that Jimmy Garoppolo type quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, or Brian Hoyer type quarterback to roll you over. You feel what I'm saying? But all this is predicated on Matthew Stafford's health. But also, if Cam Newton do come in and take over for Matthew Stafford, he do get injured or whatever, you got a guy that can pick up for Stafford. And what I mean by picking up for Stafford is he can be the bridge between another quarterback. So if you want to draft Lawrence, or you want to draft Fields, or anybody lesser than that, Cam Newton can be the bridge. You sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal if he do good this year, and you say, you know what, we feel Trevor Lawrence is good enough to come in and ball out next year, or whoever we get, he good enough. He a Russell Wilson type guy. He good enough. He can do it. He a Dak type of guy. You can flip Cam Newton, man, especially if he able to show off his ability. And why? And the most important reason for Cam personally, why, is because, and I said this before, I said this about somebody else. I can't remember, but I've been saying this about Cam Newton. I think I said it about Andrew Luck. I said he legitimately, before he retired, he legitimately needs to take a full year off. Now, a lot of times these guys take a year off, 2 years off. Okay, these dudes take those years off, and like B.J. Raji, he never came back. Now it's different because Raji a heavy guy, so he probably ate his shit and ate and said, you know what, I got fat and big. I don't feel like working back in shape. I don't think you get that with Cam. Cam's still been working. Cam's still been putting in work and lifting, pumping iron, and working out. I would take a chance on Cam and AB. You know why? because you got to take risks. Champions take chances, make champions. Excuse me. Champions take risks. We have to take risks. You know, and I would take risks. We at the end, we have nothing else to lose. If AB go rob a 7-Eleven, they already think the worst of Detroit. You know what? It ain't gonna hurt the integrity of the franchise no more. You can't hurt more than 0-16. You can't hurt more than what Titus Young did, you know, going crazy and stuff of that nature. You can't hurt. You can't be too much worse than the Portland Jailblazers, okay? It can't hurt to take risks. And finally, if they pay off, they pay off. They don't, you cut bait. And that's what's wrong with the Lions. They scared to take risks. If Cam come in and Stafford get hurt and Cam take over and he a dog, he won't be the only black quarterback that played for this franchise. Andre Ware, Rodney Peete, okay. It's time to go. Matthew have to move on or retire, and Cam got the keys for a year or 2, 3 at the most. He have his Mike Vick moment. But let's not act like this dude isn't an MVP in this league. He is an MVP in this league. You know what I'm saying? He did get hurt. But him personally, this would be a year where he can sit behind Stafford. He can heal up. You know what I'm saying? And next year he can get out and show that he's healthy. I do think Cam Newton needs an entire year off health-wise. And maybe mentally he can make that maturation process that Randall Cunningham did. Because Cunningham was known as a runner. And finally, when he couldn't run as much as he used to, when it clicked, he went 15-1 with the Minnesota Vikings, and he became a really good passer. So maybe with some mental reps for Cam, sitting behind Stafford, he can pick up on some things. He can share some things with Stafford. He can physically heal. This would be the first year if Stafford stay healthy, and that's what we want more than anything. Cam can physically heal behind Matthew Stafford. He mentally can pick up some reps. Darrell Bevell can help him with his mechanics. And maybe next year he goes somewhere else and he ball out. And Detroit would be the greatest bridge for him. And maybe Stafford get hurt and he get in, he ball out. In the middle of the season, he find a home here like Michael Vick found in Philadelphia. It's a great chance to take. I'm calling him in Antonio Brown in. Why not? You know what I'm saying? They don't put more pressure on Stafford, you know, ever since Sean Hill. And Sean Hill was getting a lot of pressure on Stafford, and they got rid of him. You know, if Stafford going to fold from pressure, man, he ain't the quarterback we need, and that's probably why he don't have a playoff win. But, hey, let me know what you guys think about the topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about Percy Harvin tomorrow. He making a comeback. Should the Lions be interested? Don't forget, we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out. Links in the description. Want to make a donation? Cash App, PayPal description. Let me know what you guys think about the video in the comment section. One time for the one time. Motor City Sports Talk. It's your boy, CJ Goodfella. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to check my